On the evening of April 4th, 1968, the world was forever changed when the news of the assassination of civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. spread like wildfire. The tragic event left the nation in shock and mourning, and the name of James Earl Ray became forever linked to the untimely death of one of history's most influential figures. However, what few know is that just over a week before this fateful day, another woman, armed and dangerous, had almost assassinated Martin Luther King Jr. The woman in question was Lorraine Motel, a civil rights activist and aspiring nurse from Memphis, Tennessee. Motel was deeply involved in the local civil rights movement and had even worked as a volunteer receptionist at the Lorraine Motel, where she had come into contact with Dr. King on several occasions. Motel, who had been nurtured by the teachings of King and inspired by his words, had been motivated to take matters into her own hands to further the cause of civil rights. In the weeks leading up to the events in question, Motel had become increasingly disillusioned with the pace of progress in the fight for civil rights. The relentless discrimination and violence faced by African Americans had weighed heavily on her, and she felt a growing sense of urgency to do something drastic to draw attention to the cause. Motel, who had obtained a firearm through connections in the local activist community, began to formulate a plan to take matters into her own hands. On March 28, 1968, Motel arrived at the Lorraine Motel, armed with a loaded handgun, determined to confront Dr. King. As fate would have it, however, Motel's plan was foiled when security personnel at the motel intercepted her and disarmed her before she could carry out her intentions. The incident was kept largely under wraps at the time, with only a select few individuals privy to the full extent of Motel's intentions. The news of Motel's attempted assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. would remain largely unknown to the public for decades, overshadowed by the later events involving James Earl Ray. It was not until years later, long after the tumult of the civil rights movement had subsided, that the full story of Lorraine Motel's near-fatal encounter with Dr. King would come to light. In the years following the attempted assassination, Lorraine Motel would grapple with the repercussions of her actions. She was plagued by conflicting emotions, torn between her fervent belief in the cause of civil rights and the knowledge that her actions could have resulted in tragedy. Motel's inner turmoil and the psychological toll of her near-deadly decision would haunt her for the rest of her life, and she would struggle to reconcile her deeply held convictions with the stark reality of the consequences of her actions. The story of Lorraine Motel serves as a sobering reminder of the complexity of the human experience and the profound impact of pivotal moments in history. Motel's actions, driven by a potent mixture of passion, desperation, and conviction, underscore the far-reaching consequences of individual choices and the fine line between history-altering events and their untold counterparts. In the decades since the turbulent 1960s, the narrative surrounding the civil rights movement has evolved and expanded, encompassing a broader spectrum of voices and perspectives. Lorraine Motel's story is a poignant reminder of the multifaceted nature of history and the often overlooked contributions and complexities of those who played a role, however veiled, in shaping the course of events. While Lorraine Motel's name may never be as widely recognized as those of the prominent figures of the civil rights movement, her story stands as a powerful testament to the intricate and profound human dynamics that underpin the grand sweep of history. Her near assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., a moment of stark reckoning and consequences narrowly averted, serves as a potent reminder of the fragility and fortitude of the human spirit and the undulating currents of history that contend